Reports are used in Studiometry to create estimates, purchase orders, and any other type of common paperwork that isn't an invoice. Just like how you can create and customize invoice templates, you can also create report templates. The main difference between invoices and reports is that your work and expense items can only be added to one invoice at a time, but your work and expense items can be added to multiple reports. So once a work item has been added to an invoice, it can't be added to other invoices. But if you add a work item to a report, you can still add it to other reports. I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, please get a hold of us at support.oranged.net and we'll explain it in a little more detail. Let's go over Studiometry's report editing window. To get to this window, we can go to any project in Studiometry, and then from the overview we can click on the plus button at the bottom and select Add Report. This is one of the many ways that we can add a new report to a project in Studiometry. And this will bring up the report editing window. This window has 3 sections, and you can get to each of them just by clicking on the section header on the top. There's Edit Report, where you can edit the settings and the setup of the report. There's View Report, where you can actually view the generated output using your customizable report templates. And then there's the Client Approval section, and this is related to Studiometry Cloud's new report approval features. So we'll start with Edit Report. Now the first field that we can see at the top here is the Attached To field, and this will show us the client and the project that this report will be associated with when it's saved. This is automatically selected because when we created this report we went to the project and then selected New Report from there. So that's how this is selected. Next up we have report name, where we can enter any name for the report and save it for later. This is a good way to organize reports internally, but you can also display the report name on the report itself when you send it to the client. So you can use that either as an internal way to organize your reports, or you can use it to present more information to your client that you might want to present. Next up on the right we have date created and date sent. Now both of these are going to be automatically filled in when you create the report, but you can customize these and change them to whatever you'd like. On your report templates you can choose to show or hide these fields or use them for really anything else you'd like, but these are 2 date fields that are associated with reports that you can use to enter dates and display them on the report itself. And then here below the name we have the report ID. This is automatically generated based on your settings in Studiometry. You can customize the way this ID will look when it's created. You can change the numbers that it's used, and you can do a lot to change all of this, and you would do that in the Preferences window, ID numbering section. And here we have a report ID format and also a purchase order ID format. Both of these are used within the report window. There's a separate tutorial video where we go over in detail all of this information and how to set up these ID numbers, but just so you know, this is where you would modify that. And if you need to get more information about the ID numbering, you can click on the help icon in the bottom right of the Preferences window ID numbering section. Next up is the Report to Contact and the Vendor to Contact, and these are both just lists of contacts that you can associate the report with. Each report will have a Report to Contact, and what this is used for is when you generate the report, all of the address and phone number and other contact information will be pulled based on whatever contact that you select here. So this list will pre-populate with all of the client's associated contacts, and also any vendor-related contacts in case you need to create a report for your vendors. So that's what the Report to Contact is. Now Vendor to Contact is a special field where if you select something from here, it will actually change this report from a standard report to what's called a purchase order. Now this list will only populate with contacts from the vendors that you have in Studiometry. So if you don't have any vendors entered into Studiometry, this list will be blank. But if you do and you select one, a couple of things are going to happen. First, we can see right here next to it, it says that items below will now show in pre-markup amounts because a vendor to is selected. And what this means is that your work items here, if we don't have a vendor to contact selected, it will show any finalized marked up amounts for these items on the report. So for example, if this item we marked it up to $1,200, but we know that the cost is $1,000, this would normally show $1,200, but since we're sending something to a vendor, we're going to be showing the vendor cost here, which will exclude any markups. So once we change this to a purchase order, markups will no longer appear for these items. The other thing that this does is it changes the ID number to use the purchase order ID format that we saw earlier in the preferences window ID format section. So instead of using the report format, it uses the purchase order format. And that's two things that change just because we selected vendor to contact. If I switch it back to none, it will revert it back to the report ID format, and any items down here will now include their markups. The next field that we have here is the report template, and this is a list of templates. The top are the visual templates and the bottom are code-based templates, but these are all of your report templates. Similar to invoice templates, you can create a list of report templates. This list will be exactly the same as the list that you can see in the View Report section. So if I change it here, it will change the selection in the Edit Report section. But there's a reason why you can have it in both places. We have it here because then you get the little preview of the template and you can see the output below. But in the Edit Report section, we want to have it here because your report template will determine which report fields are available for the report. Now, what report fields are it's just customizable fields that you can add to your templates where you can enter information when you come to create a new report. So we can have as many customizable report fields as we'd like, and then we can put them on the template in any location that we want. So it's really just a way to take input at the time that we're creating the report and save that to the report and then show it on the final output that is generated with your report template. Now, to give you a better idea of what this actually means and how it works, what I'm going to do is customize one of these templates to have some default values for report fields and actually make sure that the report fields are shown on the template. So to do that, I'm going to go to Studiometry's Preferences window and then go to the Template section. And we can see here in this second list are visual report templates. So I'm just going to double click on one of these to edit it, and this will bring up the template editing window. Now we have an entire separate tutorial for this window, and there's a lot of information that you can add into here. But I'm just really quickly going to show you something about report fields and how they function in terms of using a template to add report fields to a report. So while we're in the template, I'm going to hit Template Info at the top here, and then go to the Report Fields section. And we can see here that it has the same fields that were shown in our report editing window over here. Now, if we want to change these, we can actually add default names for the fields and default content for the fields. We can also click this button to add or remove fields. So we can have as many or as few report fields as we'd like. So I'm going to set these up really quick just to have some default names for these and some default content for a couple of them as well. So we can now see a couple of things here. One, the notes field is green because if we select it, we can see that there's content in here. Even though it says none, something has been entered. And these other two fields appear in red because they haven't been entered yet. So now when I hit OK, it will save this to this template. Now, even though those fields are saved to the template and will appear in the report editing window, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be shown when we generate the report in Studiometry. To make sure that they're shown, we want to make sure that the report field variables appear somewhere on our template. Here we can see there's a lot of different fields and variables, but we don't have the report fields shown. So I'm going to customize the template a little bit by resizing some stuff and then adding a couple of variables to the template. So I'm just going to resize this to give myself some room on the bottom, and we're going to add a couple of variables quickly to the template. So I hit the new variable button and I created a new variable and just dragged it down to the bottom. And then on the right here under item information, we can click this and scroll down to the report fields area. And then we have all of the report fields that we have. We can add either the value that we have for their name or the value for their content. So I'll quickly add report field 1 name and content and report field 2 and content to this template as variables. So now that we have these variables in here, when we generate a report using this template, these fields will actually appear on the report. So again, if we didn't have these in here, they would be stored to the report itself, but they wouldn't be shown when we create the generated content. So I'm just going to save this template and close it now that we've set up the fields. And then we're back in the report editing window. Now when I select that report template that I was just editing from the list of report templates, we can see that the report fields I've set up are automatically filled into this report field section. And we can click on any of these to customize what the content of that field will be. And you can see that once we enter content, the field will appear green here. So it's really that simple. We can come in and customize any of this information, and this will be here forever once we come back to the report. It will always be stored with the report. But now if we go to the View Report section, it will generate the report with all the information, and also at the bottom we can now see the name of the field and the content of the field in here. So it's really just a way to add information to reports that we will be entering at the time that we create the report. So those are the report fields. We kind of went off on a tangent there because report fields are one of the more powerful features related to reports because of the fact that you can customize the names and the content and have as many or as few fields as you want depending on the template. It's really important to understand what you can do with report fields. So the next section we're going to go to is the multi-project report setting. Now by default this is turned off, and when it's turned off, this list of work items below will only be loaded based on the project that we have selected. So this is the only project that will pull work items from. If we enable multi-project report, then really quickly I'll close this, we can see that we're within the Google client, and if we enable multi-project report, it will pull all of the items from all of the client's projects, so that we'll be able to see information for multiple projects at the same time. Now we still have the ability to filter this list and check or uncheck individual items, but because it's a multi-project report, we'll see items for more than just the selected project. Next up is item sets. Now if we click on this list here, we can see the optional item sets, but basically for each report we can have it automatically select items based on this set that's selected here. So the default is all, where it will add all items to the report. But we can actually set it to custom by just unchecking individual items, or we can have it to unpaid or paid or uninvoiced, or really all of these self-explanatory sets of items. Now for example, if we have it set to paid items, we then have the option of live updating. If we have live updating unchecked and we save this report, then it will just save whichever items are currently paid. If we check live updating, then every time that we generate this report, it will update to have any new paid items added to it. So if you want to create a snapshot of the paid items at the current time and create that as a report, then you would just uncheck live updating and you would be able to do that here. But if you want to reuse the report in the future, or always just have an easy way to grab a specific type of item set and generate that using Studiometry's report templates, then you would enable live updating. Then on the right here we have include taxes, and this is a simple checkbox where if we check it, taxes will be included in the amount subtotals and also in the report total. So that's just one way to enable or disable taxes. This list itself, obviously if we check or uncheck individual items, it will always reset the item set to custom, but we can select individual items and reorder it so they appear in a specific order, but you can kind of do a lot with this list itself. But this is all related to selecting the items that will appear on the report, and also those items will calculate the total for the report itself. And then finally down here on the bottom right we have the currency, and this is really just the currency that the report will be generated in. Each of the items here have their own currency, but when we generate the report, these items will have their amounts converted into the currency of the report. So you can select that here. So that's the edit report section. Next up is the view report section, and this is where we can just easily view the generated output of the report using the template that we have selected, and then we can also print, email, and export PDF content of this report. So these templates again are all modifiable in the preferences window template section, and You can do whatever you want with them to add your logo or change any of the fields or add report fields or really do anything that you need to customize the look and the output of these templates. But this is all via the View Report tab. And then finally, we have the Client Approval tab. One of the great features that you can use with Studiometry Cloud is the ability to send reports and estimates and purchase orders to your clients through the cloud and have them view the report and submit their feedback. They can either approve or reject a report, and they can submit a note as well. And all of that is managed through this Client Approval tab. We can see the approval status, which we can modify ourselves. We can see the action and the client signature, and then also a list of the history of what has changed with this report. Now, since this is a new report, it says the approval status is none. But when I hit OK to save this report, if I'm using Studiometry Cloud, it will ask if I want to upload the report to Studiometry Cloud and send it to the client. So it's an automated system, really, but this is just a way to follow what's happening. Also, once you receive feedback from your client, you can use the Edit Approval Status button to bring up that window and see information about the feedback and possibly send the report back out again. So this is a great way to interact with your clients and get the information to them and back to you without having to really do anything separate. When they go to Studiometry Cloud and approve or reject the report, it will show up in your Studiometry as approved or rejected automatically, and you'll receive a notification. So we have some help files that will, or knowledge base articles that explain the entire process of how that works, but it all starts from this section of the report editing window. So that's it. If you have any questions about this or anything else related to Studiometry, please get in touch with us at support.oranged.net.